Howdy y'all, got the Bulldog on the channel. Got the little ecotech here all put back together and it runs. Another lesson in don't fall into the trap of fixing the obvious and then thinking you did something wrong because you still got a problem. This thing did not want to start. I mean, did not want to start. Well, shoot. Plugged the computer in. Of course, I had an whole slew of codes in it. Cleared them all out. It started after that, but it didn't want to run. It popped right up. Said, cam sensor. Yeah, I had it unplugged, but I plugged it back in. What in the world? Got thinking, well, half them codes it set before because the intake was out of time. That's what the high pressure fuel pump runs off of, and that's why those codes were all set. Those didn't come back, but the cam sensor did. Cam sensor's on the exhaust camshaft. Well, I did do this right, didn't I? Yeah, I did. I double checked myself. I triple checked myself. My boss come down and he looked at it. You know, we all want to be in agreement before we seal the motor back up. Yeah, well, what in the world? And we got a new computer system here. We rolled it down there and had it plugged in. We, of course, cleared the codes out. And it's sitting there running. What in the world? Computer's trying to compensate for stuff. Well, I get into the data. Cam sensor's reading 0 RPM. What does that have to do with what I did? I didn't take that out. I didn't do anything to it. What? Well, truth is, it has nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing. Cam sensor was bad. Now, this thing had the chains out of time. This thing had guides broken, 2 different guides broken. One of them cut clear in 2. Pieces floating around in it, which is why we're changing the oil on it. Got it. I fished everything metal out of there that I could grab. You know, any other pieces are going to be too big for the sump to pick up. You know, the right way would be to pull the pan off and get all the pieces out of there, but you know, it's not going to cause a problem. Of course, we had it running here. We didn't drive it, of course. Didn't want to drive it. Oil, a little bit dark, but it has, you know, it's been grinding in there. It's going to have flakes of aluminum and chunks of steel in it. So while it's nice and warm and thin, pull a plug on it. It did have some gas in the oil from running out of time. So we're changing that. But we did notice, you know, I was trying to burp the system. Ended up having to hook our airlift system to it, vacuum the system, because it had an air bubble in there that will not come out. It's supposed to self-bleed, but it don't. We've been running into a few of them lately that for whatever reason, they won't self-bleed. I sucked the air bubble out of it with a vacuum and drew the coolant all the way back into it, started to warm it up, and we noticed that when we went to start it, it'd crank and crank and crank and crank and then fire up. And it immediately set a cam sensor code. Boom! Well, that's when we saw that, well, it wasn't getting no cam signal. On the opposite end of the chains, no way it could get damaged. Just went back. And the exhaust camshaft is the one that has the sensor. I did not find an intake cam sensor. It knew it was out of time. It kept throwing in timing code, saying it was out of time. Well, apparently that has absolutely nothing to do with the chains being out of time, because the exhaust was in time. The intake wasn't. Shut the thing off and they jump backwards is how they get out of time. They usually don't jump while they're running. Usually if they jump while they're running, you got a mess because they explode. You shut it off, the engine will try to buck its way backwards and it'll get slack on a side where it's not supposed to, and that's when they jump, is when you shut the engine off, which is a good thing because it usually saves the engine if it's going to save it. But that was just a kind of a crisis mode deal of, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Well, nothing. Something else was bad at the same time. It happens. We had a new sensor, one of the parts stores, since we are open an extra hour every day. He was on his way home. He's dropped it off here on his way home, so we got it delivered. I stuck it in here, hit the key, fired right up, no coach. So I'll get the oil put in it, test drive it, it's ready to go. Hopefully tomorrow will not be as eventful. I like boring. Boring's not as painful. Like, comment, subscribe, hit your little bell notification, share it around. I'll talk to you later.